Hello, beautiful people. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. It's me, Kirsten, and this is the It's Giving Mystical podcast. And this is your podcast for the week ahead, the week of October 24th. We find ourselves fully in Scorpio season. We find ourselves on the heels of that Libra new moon. I found that new moon to be such beautiful energy. Did it deliver to my doorstep all that I hoped for? No, maybe not. But did it offer me a type of clarity, a type of refocusing and gratitude for where I am? 100%. And it's interesting that we had the death card last week as the kind of pre-journey energy into Scorpio season, because the death card and Scorpio are companions. The death card is one of the representations of Scorpio energy in the tarot deck. And Scorpio is, connected to the phoenix, to the dying away and the rebirthing that happens in this season that we're in this moment of the year, but also the energetics of that. So it's interesting that the death card came in almost as like, the homework, the pre-journey work of, oh, here, just pay attention. Whatever's falling away, whatever's dying, whatever's shedding in this season, it's to help you enter Scorpio season with the best possible chance at rebirth, the best possible chance at becoming yourself more fully. And in Mystic Rising, we were speaking about the shedding of the skin, and one of the women was sharing her experience of the skin shedding. And I had this, and I still haven't looked it up, but I had this memory that, and someone correct me if I'm wrong or encourage me if I'm right, but the way that the skin sheds and then the snake has to lay there for a minute. There's something about the skin drying in the sun. I just remember that from some nature show or from something or another, from some mythology. And so there's this idea that the shedding happens and then there's the moment of recalibration that's here with us so much. And the card that I pulled for us in the week ahead is the Eight of Swords, which is, I have such a fondness for this card, and I know not everyone might feel that way. I don't know what it is. I guess I really have this deep vein of loving when I don't have to be in control. The Eight of Swords is a reminder of that. Most traditionally, the eights are talking about some, again, reforming, delivery of a structure, a mental structure. So the eights are always going to be about real experience, about material experience. And the eights are our mental plane, our mental body, the way we think, the way we communicate, the words we choose. And so when the Eight of Swords comes in, there's something recalibrating, reworking, again, forming around how we use our mental energy, how our mental energy is translating the world to us, and how we're translating via our mental energy. And when this card comes up traditionally, it comes back to that kind of mindfulness phrase. What is it? Don't believe everything you think. That's very much here with Eight of Swords always. But there's this sense of your mind not being your best navigation tool right now. In the card, she's blindfolded and her arms are bound, her feet are free, and she's wandering, looks like very slowly, down this river, this intuitive vein of energy. So the waters, my intuition is guiding me here. I'm feeling my way through this. And the beautiful part about this card is it looks like she's escaped or she's moving away from this big castle, this kind of isolated castle on the hill. She's moving down these waters through what looks like a wall of swords. And the beautiful part is there's a couple of things happening. One, she's moving through a gap in the swords. There's only one gap. There's only one way through. And she's found it via her intuition, via her instincts, via her water body, her emotional body. And when you look at the card, it looks like it's a wall of swords. But if you look more carefully, there's one sword that's actually planted in front of her. And she's headed there, whether she realizes it or not. And so she's headed into an Ace of Swords. She's headed into a moment of clarity, a moment where the reform, my mind has become a place that is unreliable. My mind has become a place that is mysterious, that's not guiding me with clarity, that's not giving me the things I expect it to give me. So I've had to turn to some other instinct, some other method of guidance, some other way forward. And in this card in particular, she's really guided by her feelings, by her emotions, by her intuition. And where that actually leads her is not just to liberation, so not just to freedom beyond the wall of this cloistered castle, but it's actually leading her to clarity. So the Ace of Swords is the beautiful energy of aha, like, aha, I see now, and I can speak clearly about it, and I understand it consciously, and I have something to share. There's a gift here. So the Eight of Swords can feel like this very difficult energy of being bound, of being, again, that your brain, your mental, your words fail you. Like you can't quite articulate this in a way that brings you peace or satisfaction. We talk about this in therapy all the time, right? When your therapist says to you, feel your feelings, or you're in some kind of workshop and they're like, feel your feelings. And many people will narrate their feelings versus feel their feelings. So it's one thing to sit with your grief. It's another thing to say, oh, I have grief because of XYZ, or my grief feels like XYZ. While there's validity to all of those things, it's not the same thing. So having the experience of our emotions is not the same as being able to narrate our emotions. And so there's something about that narration failing you that the Eight of Swords reveals, which makes sense. If we're coming off of this death card energy, that's not a movement or a process that you can often articulate. It's something that's happening to you. You're experiencing it. You're, again, being moved by it, being shaped by it, but it's not something you necessarily can articulate. And the Eight of Swords is about the frustration, both the frustration of not being able to articulate it and the beauty of the human experience, that we can move forward even when we don't understand why, even when we don't have the answers, even when we can't explain to everyone why we're moving the way we are. We just kind of trust it. We know. We have many ways of navigation, many levels of perception. So when our mental body fails us, or our mental body brings us confusion, we still find a way forward. And again, so the traditional reading of this card is she has liberated herself via her instincts, her intuition, even when her mind has fallen away, even when what she sees is not providing the answers, even when her hands can't make the change that would bring her what she's hoping for. So that's always present with the Eight of Swords. And again, it's leading her not just to freedom, to liberation, but to clarity, to this aha energy of, oh, I can begin again. And when I flipped the card, the message that came through loud and clear was surrender. So this is a week of surrender, and you might be in that process already. The new moon might have really activated that for you. Not just the idea of surrender, but the piece of that. Like, you know what? My only choice here is to surrender. That might have been your experience around the new moon in work and relationships, in your art, in your physical journey, like whatever, your family, whatever's alive, your community, whatever's alive for you. And the Eight of Swords is continuing that experience of surrender. And what the Eight of Swords wants to remind us of is that we are not being led astray just because we can't articulate what's happening, just because we can't, grab onto the mental answer or the narrative answer or the linguistic answer. It doesn't mean that we're not navigating just right, just so. There is a deep energy of protection around this card this week. And I think that that's something just to highlight and become aware of. You are protected. And remember free will. Remember that your angels and your guardians are with you, and that they are anxious to help, eager to help. And so if you feel lost at all, pray in whatever way feels good to you. Ask for help, ask for guidance, ask for assistance, ask for the sign. Never doubt how loved you are. Never doubt how wanted you are and how protected you are. And the card here really is trying to say that even if in this moment you can't articulate it, and even if in this moment you feel a little bit like blinded to what's next, or unclear about what's next, or like there's really an empty space around what's next, you are being guided forward and you are moving forward. That's the other thing that comes through here. We really put so much pressure on ourselves to be the maker, the doer, the fixer, the one. And I was listening to this guy on TikTok probably, and he was, I think, on Andrew Huberman's podcast, and he was saying that for a creative being, that you should be doing the project that you have the most resistance to. And I hear him, like I hear that, like I hear the truth in that, of the fact that resistance shows up when something really has meaning for us. But I also hear in that a kind of old way of doing things, kind of an outdated way of doing things. Because there's this conversation we've all been having over these years around resistance and around flow. And there is something to be said about facing resistance, moving through it with grace, but not only moving in the direction of resistance. Does that make sense? So just because you have 3 projects on the table, it's okay to move towards the project you love, like that excites you and lights you up and feels quote unquote easy. It's not wasted to do that. We don't always have to move in the against the tide. We don't always have to take the greatest challenge and shoulder it. And I would argue that, if you know anything about human design, they talk about how manifestors, we've lived in a manifestor's world, and those have been the leaders in the world. And part of what's happening with the emergence of the projector is that we're trying to guide people into a new way of being. And a lot of that has to do with effortlessness, with not making every day the hardest battle you've ever fought. That there's something about ease and effortlessness and instinct and flow that is also valuable, that also has a powerful alchemical opportunity in it. And so that comes up here with the 8 of Swords as well. It might be that you're used to really being the one pushing forward, making it happen, fixing it, achieving it. And there's an opportunity here to recognize that life endures, that there's always things happening. It's like we have something in our brain, and I don't know what the exact neuropsychology is, that is so comfortable with the expected. And it's that idea of we're telling the same story over and over again. Like we have to actively try to change the dynamics, the dimensions of the story for it to do so, that our neurology can kind of get into these loops. And there's something about this idea of thinking that we're the only one. I guess it's maybe ego, like we're the only one inciting change. And that's so funny and sweet. And it's like, just relax, girl, relax, man. Like there's something about taking your hands off the wheel for a moment and watching how things resolve, like watching how things keep moving. This also came up in Mystic Rising last week, talking about watching someone else go through process and how easily we co-regulate to someone's drama. We collude in someone else's drama. And so much of the work that we're trying to do is to hold the resonant vibration of okayness, of groundedness, of presence, so that we can attune and remind people that they can also reattune, they can resettle, they can come back into their bodies. And there's something really interesting about watching someone have an experience that's an uncomfortable experience and the impulse to step in and make it better, and then fighting that, resisting that when it's safe and good to do so, and just observing and watching how it gets resolved all by itself. There's something here about that as well. So for the 8 of Swords, there needs to be a recognition of how far you've come, a recognition that your mind, your mental body is not your most trusted advisor right now. Your mind is probably actually creating some kind of barrier, some kind of confusion in terms of the way forward. Dropping into your feeling, dropping into your intuition, and really being concerned with one step at a time, one foot in front of the other. And the deeper faith, so however you need to call on that, whether you're calling on the earth or your ancestors, your angels, your guides, the deeper faith that you are protected, that you are led, and that there's not a mistake to be made. Just because like this, it's like the analogy that kind of comes to mind is like flying in the dark. Just because the systems are down for a minute doesn't mean the plane's not still in the air. It's like, I know, a weird thing to say, but that's the image that comes to mind. Like we're used to the instruments. We're used to looking at the navigational panel and be like, oh, here I am, and here are the instruments, and here's what we do. There's something about you're kind of flying in the dark right now. That's not a bad thing. Like you're safe. You're just being asked to rely. Maybe flying's too tricky. Maybe you're just like walking in the woods and your GPS goes down. like you're still okay. You're just going to have to learn and pause and pay attention and maybe open your other senses to what else is happening in the moment and navigate via a system that maybe you haven't exercised in a while, or you feel like you've over relied on the conscious mind, you've over relied on the mental body. And so there's a call back to the body, a call back to the emotions, a call back to just the energetics of a thing, and how there's an alchemical energetic movement and processing happening all of the time in all things. We're all in process all of the time, as is the whole world. And so there's something about, we've really relied on that navigational panel, the instruments. That's why I keep thinking of, like, your brain is like the instruments. And the reminder this week that even if the instrument panel's down, you're not blind, you're not lost, you just have to navigate more slowly. You just don't have maybe the big picture vision, but that doesn't mean that you're not also moving forward. Doesn't mean you also don't know exactly what the next right step is. I hope that's like a helpful sense of what I'm picturing in my mind. But the Eight of Swords, so it's always going to be about that. And this week in particular, it feels like a real surrender to what is. And again, like I said, it feels like the new moon kind of revealed that to you. And this week ahead is the absorption of that, the embodiment of that, the lived experience of that. And it feels loving. That's the other thing. Like, you feel very protected, and it feels very loving. And it feels like whatever is dying away, it needed to die away to put you in a position to follow this path. And you're following this path for your own benefit, for your own good, for your own enjoyment, for your own pleasure. And so there's something about like a fuller experience of you that's available only because something which maybe felt precious or important or critical is falling away. So everything about this feels like it's in service to you. Nothing about this feels like it's leaving you adrift or cutting you off or trying to confuse you on purpose. It's requiring a deepening into yourself, but for the most beautiful purpose, like just for the right thing. It's like someone's throwing you a surprise party and you have this feeling of like, wait, but why don't we have plans on Wednesday? Like, I thought we were going to hang out on Wednesday, and everyone's quiet and weird and you can't quite have the conversation. And it's because there's a surprise party for you on Wednesday. I don't know, something like that. That's the Eight of Swords for us this week. May you enjoy the frisson, the tension, the excitement leading up to the grand reveal, the Ace of Swords, the clarity that is 100% coming for you. It's just on the other side of this moment of deepening surrender into faith, into trust in yourself and in the world and what you're co-creating together, what you're here to experience together. So yeah, so take good care of yourself. Really note where your mind is overworking or leading you astray or asking you to push further forward than you're ready to push, and trust your gut, like trust your intuition. Even if you can't quite make sense of it or explain it to yourself or explain it to the world, it's like, no, this is where my feet need to be right now. And I'm just going to kind of put my head down and put one foot in front of the other and trust that I'm being led to clarity and reforming in a way that is going to serve me and everyone I know and love. All right. So much love to you. Happy Scorpio season. Happy spooky season. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.